She said she'd be right back. The unsolved murder of Maggie Long. She told her friends she'd be right back. It was a Friday night in December. Christmas was 3 weeks away. Maggie Long had spent weeks organizing the concert at her school, making sure everything was perfect. She just needed to run home, grab some water, grab the cookies she'd baked. She'd be back in 20 minutes. She never came back. When firefighters finally extinguished the blaze and searched the ruins of the Long family home, they found her. Maggie Long was 17 years old, who was Maggie Bailey. Colorado sits about 50 miles southwest of Denver, up in the Rocky Mountains. Population, around 9,000. The kind of mountain town where everybody knows everybody, where families go to feel safe. The Long family had built their life here. Sanka and her husband had raised their children, 3 daughters and a son, in a sprawling ranch house tucked behind the trees on County Road 43. They'd been part of this community for nearly 20 years. They owned restaurants in the area. They knew their neighbors. They loved this town. And then there was Maggie. Maggie Long was the kind of teenager that makes a room brighter the moment she walks in. She was a senior at Platte Canyon High School, a straight-A overachiever who threw herself into everything. Student council, speech club, community theater. Her friends said she was the best of them, not in a sentimental way. Literally the most driven, the most compassionate, the most present. One of her closest friends put it this way: "I'm sure everyone has told you she was the best of us. Nobody deserves this. But of all the people that it could happen to, she didn't deserve what happened to her." The Venue Theater Company in Conifer was one of Maggie's favorite places in the world. She'd performed in productions there since she was young. Her last role was in Thoroughly Modern Millie. There is now a plaque on her favorite seat, the one she always sat in when she came to watch shows. On December 17th each year, Maggie's birthday, her friends and classmates gather to hand out socks and sandwiches to people experiencing homelessness. Not because someone organized it, because that's what Maggie would have done. That is who Maggie Long was. Now let me tell you what happened to her. December 1st, 2017 was a Friday, the last day of the school week before the holidays. That evening, Platte Canyon High School was hosting a concert. Maggie had helped organize it and had taken on managing the VIP section. She was in charge. She cared about every detail being right. Sometime after school ended, around 2:30 p.m., Maggie left campus. She had one errand: drive to her family home off County Road 43, just a short distance away. Grab a change of clothes. Pick up the cookies she'd baked for the concert audience. Be back in 20 minutes. The Long family home sat at the end of a mile-long driveway, hidden behind a thick tree line. "We were nowhere near the main county road," Maggie's sister Connie would later recall. "We had no security cameras. It was a small community. There wasn't a lot of concern about anything sketchy happening." Maggie drove up that driveway and walked into her home. What she walked into was not what she expected. At some point before 7 p.m., a tenant renting a guest suite in the Long home called 911. He reported hearing loud banging noises inside the main house. He said it sounded like there was a break-in happening. Before any officers could arrive, the house was on fire. At approximately 7 p.m., the Park County Sheriff's Office was dispatched to a structure fire at 3763 County Road 43. The 911 call reported that people were inside the residence causing damage, and that at least one male had been seen on the property. Firefighters worked to extinguish the blaze. When they finally got the fire under control and made their way through the ruins, they found Maggie. She had not escaped the fire. She had not been overcome by smoke. Investigators determined that Maggie had walked in on at least 3 men in the middle of a burglary. A physical altercation took place between Maggie and her assailants, and then, deliberately, intentionally, they set the house on fire with her inside. Maggie Long was burned alive. The suspects had taken their time inside the Long home. Investigators would later determine they had spent a significant amount of time there. They stole a Beretta handgun, an AK-47 style rifle, 2,000 rounds of ammunition, a green safe, and a collection of jade figurines. Then they set the fire, specifically to conceal what they had done to Maggie and cover the evidence of the robbery. Then they drove away. Back at the school, Maggie never returned. Her absence was noticed immediately. This was not a girl who missed things. Her friend groups began checking phones. No response. When her sister Connie arrived at the family home that night, it was surrounded by emergency vehicles. Maggie's car was still in the driveway. She hadn't gone anywhere. It took 3 days until December 4th before investigators publicly confirmed what they already knew. Maggie Long was dead. The initial public statement was almost nothing. The Park County Sheriff's Office offered little to the community. No details, no suspects, just silence. That silence would last over a year, and it would make people very angry. The investigation for more than a year after Maggie's murder, the Park County Sheriff's Office said almost nothing publicly. No suspect descriptions, no motive, no update. The community was furious. One community member whose daughter had been friends with Maggie later said, "We weren't asking for specifics on the case. We just wanted to know that something was happening." The complete silence was incredibly frustrating, and I think it hurt a lot of people and made a lot of people very angry. Then in January 2019, everything changed. A new sheriff, Tom McGraw, took office with just 3 weeks on the job. He called a press conference. He looked into the cameras. And for the first time, the public heard the full truth of what happened to Maggie Long. Sheriff McGraw told the public, "It saddens me greatly to tell you that Maggie was purposefully set on fire and burned alive. We believe this was a targeted crime, and that there were at least 3 suspects still at large." McGraw also announced the creation of the Maggie Long Task Force, a multi-agency team bringing together the Park County Sheriff's Office, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, the FBI's Denver Division, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. He launched a dedicated website. He held a community meeting. He promised this case was not going to go cold. The task force released composite sketches of 3 suspects, all male. Investigators believe at least 3 men were directly involved in Maggie's murder, and possibly a 4th. What investigators know: the men were likely not from Bailey or the immediate area. They are believed to have targeted the Long home specifically, possibly because they knew the family owned restaurants and suspected cash or valuables were kept at home. Investigators noted that a belief that Chinese immigrant families rarely use banks may have been a factor in why the home was targeted. After the fire, investigators believe the suspects sold stolen vehicles, changed their appearances, and moved away from the region. They likely remained dispersed across the country or beyond. In 2021, 3.5 years after Maggie's death, came a development that changed the entire dimension of the case. The FBI officially reclassified the investigation. Maggie Long's murder was no longer being treated solely as a crime of opportunity. The FBI confirmed it was now investigating her murder as a hate crime, motivated in whole or in part by bias against her race and ethnicity. Maggie Long was Chinese American. The FBI has never publicly specified exactly what evidence led to the hate crime designation. What Maggie's sisters have said: growing up in Bailey, they sometimes felt unwelcome, but they didn't remember specific instances of overt racism. What they did know was that the Long family was visible. They owned local businesses. People knew their routines. People knew when the house would be empty or almost empty. The reward currently stands at $75,000, contributed by Maggie's family, the Park County Sheriff's Office, the ATF, the CBI, and the FBI. It is one of the largest rewards ever offered in a Colorado cold case. By late 2024, the task force had received over 415 tips. They have built a comprehensive case file. The investigation has never officially stopped, but 7 years later there have been no arrests, no named suspects, no closure. One investigator on the task force put it plainly: "Somebody's gotta know something. I can't believe that nothing has been set up to this point. Eventually somebody's going to break." The family left behind, Long family, no longer lives in Bailey. After Maggie's death, they couldn't stay. The house on County Road 43 has sat empty since the night of December 1st, 2017. The family relocated to the Denver area, about an hour away. close enough that Bailey is still within reach, far enough that they no longer have to pass the driveway. Maggie's sister Lynna has spoken about what losing her means for Bailey itself. That time has passed, and her not being around changes how I view Bailey as a place I grew up. It doesn't feel like the place I grew up anymore without that presence. This was not the first time violence had touched the Long family in Bailey. In 2006, 11 years before Maggie's murder, a gunman took hostages at Platte Canyon High School. Maggie's older sister Lynna was among those taken hostage. The family survived that day. They did not survive December 1, 2017, intact. Maggie's family has spoken about how every year the holidays are especially hard. Maggie loved Christmas. She loved her family. She loved being the kind of person who baked cookies to share with strangers at a school concert. Every December 17th, Maggie's birthday, her community shows up. They distribute food and socks to people in need, not because anyone told them to, because they are honoring the kind of person she was. At the Venue Theater in Conifer, Maggie is permanently remembered with a scholarship fund and a seat bearing her name. The seat she always chose when she came to watch her friends perform. Her family's message has never changed in 7 years. It is short. It is unwavering. Maggie deserves justice. She was an irreplaceable, innocent soul with a majestic presence. She brought a joy to our family, her friends, and her community that will never be forgotten. Call to action here is what I need you to understand about this case. The people who did this are still out there. They have been living their lives for 7 years. Some of them have probably told someone, a partner, a friend, someone who was drinking and said something they shouldn't have, someone who heard something and stayed quiet because it was easier. That person might be watching this video right now. If you were anywhere near Bailey, Colorado on December 1, 2017, especially near County Road 43, and you saw a vehicle or heard something or know something, please come forward. If you have ever been told something about this case, even secondhand, that information could be the key. Tips are completely anonymous. You will not have to give your name. You just have to make one call. Maggie Long Task Force Tip Line 303-239-4243 FBI Denver 1-800-CALL-FBI. You can also submit tips online at fbi.gov/tips. All links are in the description below. There is a $75,000 reward for information leading to an arrest and conviction. Maggie Long. December 17, 1999 to December 1, 2017. Still waiting for justice. This video reached you, share it. Not for the views, for Maggie. The more people who know this case, the higher the chance that someone somewhere hears something that breaks it open. Links to the official tip lines are in the description. Everything I referenced in this video is sourced and linked below. I've done my best to honor Maggie's story accurately and with the respect she deserves. Thank you for watching the Red Case File. I'll see you in the next one.